So, why can you feel so out of control and sometimes you know you want to stop, but you can't? What does recalibration actually look like? I've spoken about that quite a bit, and I wanted to talk about this today because it's something very deeply impactful on our lives and something that a lot of people do not think about most of the time. Something that we, for the most part, I can say I was earlier in my much younger days unaware of. And most of us have experienced it in one way or another, where we know we're doing something or acting in a certain way or expressing or feeling a certain emotion within us, and we can't, even though we know it, we can't help ourselves as much as we can be thinking that we don't want to be doing what we're doing. And I want to talk about what happens when you get triggered, not just annoyed. When you get triggered by, it could be a tone, it could be a word, it could be a look, even a certain look that you get from a certain somebody sometimes, a criticism, a memory, maybe even a bill you weren't expecting, or something popping up from when you go to the doctor for a visit. Could be a difficult person, a situation. Could be even the weather. It sounds strange, but weather does trigger people. And I know that when I was in my, I would say my 20s, I had a trigger with heat and humidity that I didn't actually realize how much it affected me until I was in Hong Kong in the middle of a typhoon. The walls were so, it was so humid that the walls were literally sweating. There was water trickling down just from the condensation of it being so hot and it being so humid there. And what I can say to you is that the only time I was actually comfortable, even though there was air conditioning in some parts of the home that we were staying in, the only time I was really comfortable where there was no air conditioning was when I was under in the shower. And if you can imagine, I didn't realize how much it was having an impact on my fiance at the time, because he actually shared years later that he was thinking of not. It was so bad. He was thinking of, who is this person I'm marrying, right? The truth of the matter is, I knew I had a scowl on my face. I knew I was short-tempered. I knew was snapping at people, but I couldn't help myself. I was trying to smile, but I couldn't. It was really something else, because Jamaica, even though I'm from there, it's not as hot as in Hong Kong and it's definitely not humid. And during a typhoon, it was extremely humid. So have you ever been so thrown off by something that you knew you were off about, and that no matter what you tried, you could not shift it? And are you looking for ways to take control of that and make changes so that you can be in control of yourself? It's one thing to be aware, it's another thing to actually be able to effect a change in yourself. And I'm just saying that because I knew that I had that problem and I couldn't change it for years actually. Not until many years later. And that's another story in itself. But I knew I had a problem, I couldn't shift it. And that's why I'm here speaking to you about that right now. Because we can be aware, where we want to feel better, we want to calm down, we want to do something differently, we want to get back to being centered and grounded, but we're not able to get that harshness out of, could be in the voice, in the facial expression, in the whole body, how the body you're carrying yourself, and you can't. And so it's very important to understand that this is not something to be beating yourself up about. It's human. We are human beings. There is something though that it would be good for us to learn in order to get back in control of our state, of our thinking, of our being. Sometimes people are so unaware that, have you ever seen it where someone is beside you, you're talking, have the most pleasant conversation, and all of a sudden somebody cuts them off when they're driving and they just transform into this ranting, raving, outraged person, and you're looking at them not knowing what to expect in the next moment, and then that person settles down and the next minute they're fine, and they don't, it's almost like it didn't register where they went to and where they came back from. And I'd like to suggest that it's not a weakness. It is programming that we have not yet learned and determined how to uh, look at it in differently, and how to change that trigger to something else. What do they look like? Why don't people realize what or who they show up as when they get triggered? And what does it mean to be able to do this? What do we have to be able to look at? It comes to three things for me: reflect, recalibrate, and rise. So reflect means slowing down enough to say what's off, simply what's off. To recalibrate, asking ourselves what needs to shift. What do I need? What can I do to shift it? And then to rise, what becomes possible when you can recalibrate and you do shift that state of where it is you don't want to be. And that is a thread that I want to kind of follow today, because the next question is not whether life ever throws you off, but it is, when it does throw you off, do you know how to come back to where you were or where you want to be? Because life will throw you off. Life, we cannot anticipate sometimes what's going to come at us. Some people get triggered and they don't even know it. They go from calm and pleasant to road rage and in an instant, as I said just before this. They go from open to sharp, from happy to cold. They can get from being reasonable to defensive, from steady to panicked, from kind to biting and sarcastic. And they may even have no idea of what happened, transpired, what they looked like, what they sounded like, or how scary they were, or maybe how uncertain they were, because it could be the other side where it's not this outrage, but it's where this lack of confidence or insecurity comes in, or fear even. And so these are the sides of the picture that we're looking at. Are you aware of what all the triggers that you have are? Are you aware if it is that there's someone who gets you right away into that space, or a certain situation, or maybe it's just criticism, or it could even be congratulations? Are you aware of what it is or who you become when you get triggered? Because it's not just what you feel, it's what you become. And I could go through all the things, being shut down, blaming, shaming, getting interference, all that. The reason that this is important is because it affects your credibility, it affects your relationships, it affects how you move up at work, in your promotability, how you do your actual work, because if you're into this space, it could affect the accuracy, efficiency, the attention to detail that you're able to pay to what it is you're doing. It can affect the quality of your work, and also others around you, where it just starts affecting how people cooperate or want to actually help you or work with you. And this is a very big deal. A lot of people think that this is private and it's their personal issue, but it isn't in a sense, because It shapes so much in our lives and it affects so much and things that we may not realize, because if we have triggers and we're not at our best performance, we don't always know who is observing in the crowd or in the audience or in the space that we're in. It affects other people, relationships, your work, and relationships at work. However, it can also affect your health. Emotions can trigger things, symptoms in your body. It can affect your immune system and your nervous system and your sleep, and then it gets into all sorts of different things. Take a breath, slow down for a minute, and take in what I've just shared today. Are there any responses or reactions I have to what's going on around me, in, around, and about me that I might want to take a look at and figure out what is there that I need to come to terms with? And then from there, deciding whether you would like to take the time to recalibrate. Recalibration takes time. It's not pretending or just trying to recalibrate. It's not about fake, positivity, saying affirmations over and over, trying to smile through whatever it is that's going on, forcing yourself to be thankful, or just trying to think positively. Recalibration is a process of helping your whole system, your mind, your heart, your body, to come back into center, to get into a space of feeling calm, peaceful, safe, having alignment, and being grounded. And that is very different from forcing yourself to be positive. It's a different space. It's a change of state. And I think that we all are at different places with this ability to recalibrate. As mentioned before, some don't recognize even the need to do that because they're not aware enough of themselves and in of themselves. And they just manage, they see what comes at them, they keep on reacting and doing their best. There's some who are aware and they know they need to work. They catch themselves, but they're looking. There's some who know what state they're always in because they're super self-aware, and they are using tools to help them to come back to center, and they're able to navigate through their situations. And kudos to you if you're one of those. It's a high performers who can recalibrate the fastest, because it's just part of that top performing requirement, is to be able to come back no matter what's coming at you, to perform and to be at your best in whatever situation you are, so that you can contribute to making whatever it is that's going on, contribute to that in a positive way. Where recalibration becomes real is where you are able to open up to your brilliance, because you're able to put the thoughts that are running through your mind, that are negative, that are holding you back, to bed. Opening up yourself to being calmer, peaceful, and able to think creatively, because once all the noise settles in the mind, then thoughts can come into it with your inspiration coming from your place, where whatever that gift of yours is, whether it's analysis or compositions, writing, music, or creativity, painting, designing, using your expertise, your subject matter expertise. That's where recalibration becomes really powerful. Ask the questions. What needs to shift? Some of these things we need to have someone who is on our side of the court, who is going to give us what's going on straight, shooting from the hip, so that what is showing up can be addressed. And then the other question is, what becomes possible? What do you think will become possible for you if you are able to do all of this, to reflect, recalibrate, and then open up to what's possible. And this is a part of the work I do with people, not just helping them to understand the pattern, the programs that they're running, what is coming to you as I shared some of this with you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. You can reach out to me at support@mentormem.com. I'd be happy to answer questions. Until the next episode of the Sparkle Experience Show, have yourself a great rest of evening.